Alrighty, so it's time to do the preview of the 8 games that's going to be happening tomorrow. And by the way, I am going to be kind of in a rush in terms of doing this preview because I am starting my shift in about an hour and 15 minutes at the time of this recording. And one thing I forgot to say yesterday is that because I am working from 1:30 to 10 p.m., that means there pretty much is no chance of me watching any of the game that is going to be happening tonight. Well, I take that back. I might able to catch a small glimpse during my 10-minute break and 30-minute lunch break, but that is really the only time where I can actually watch any of the free games that is going to be happening tonight. So when I do the review of the free games that's going to be happening tonight, you're going to see some of the notes that I put are kind of a little bit bare-boned, and I think at this moment, and for those that have been loyal supporters of this channel and have watched pretty much my review almost every week, you can maybe tell that there are going to be some games that you can tell the notes I put are probably ones that I either watched the game or I didn't watch the game and I just kind of watched the condensed highlights of the game. But that being said, let us actually begin, because as I said, I'm kind of in a little rush. I don't want to waste any time. And we start off with the Seattle Sounders taking on the San Jose Earthquakes, and I am wearing my Quakes jersey, and it's very rare that I actually wear a Quakes jersey in a preview, and especially on a review, because the Quakes, they haven't really been in a meaningful match a lot so far this season. And especially the reason why I haven't been wearing a Quakes jersey in a review is because it's been a long time since the Quakes have last got a win. I mean, as I said last week, a optimistic Quakes fan will say that at least they have gone unbeaten in their last 4 games, despite the fact that the last 4 games have all ended in a draw. But a pessimistic Quakes fan will say that this team still have not won a single game since May, and their winless run runs to 13 games. And it doesn't help the fact that they are going to be facing against a team that, they not only have not good history in the past couple of matches, but they pretty much for the last couple of years have not been able to beat the Seattle Sounders. Like the Seattle Sounders, not only they're the kryptonite for the San Jose Earthquakes, but this has just been a team where it just feels like any time when the Quakes play against the Sounders, it's kind of like an automatic loss. And especially with them playing on the road against a Sounders, or against the Sounders, and a Sounders team that I'm pretty sure they're pretty pissed off after what happened in the last game where they lost 3-1 to SKC at home. They're definitely looking to try to get all 3 points in this game. Now, a slight good news about this game is that the Sounders probably are not going to be in full strength again, but really, I think even if they're not going to be in full strength, I still think they should be able to beat the Quakes. And again, the Quakes right now, with the way that they have gone on this miserable winless run, and yes, they haven't lost a game in the last 4 games, but at the end of the day, as long as they go on this winless run, I don't really have any hope. The fact that they can, of course, get this winless run out of their system, unless if they can get a big win somewhere else. Now, this game will start at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, and the actual kickoff is 2:08 p.m. local time. This game is actually not on national television, because if you think that most games on Saturday afternoon and in a matinee time, you think it's on a national television game. No, this one is not. It's just going to be on regular regional television and on ESPN Plus. And the Sounders, they have a record of 9-5-2, while the Quakes have a record of 3-5-7. Top goal scorer for the Sounders. Now, I did make a mistake yesterday saying Chicharito was the top goal scorer. It's actually Raul Ruidiaz, who is the top goal scorer with 11 goals, just 1 goal more than what Chicharito has in the Golden Boot race. Then you got Freddie Montero and Brad Smith with 3 goals, followed by Christian Rodon with 2 goals, and his brother Alex Rodon with 1 goal in 5th place of the top goal scorer chart. For the Quakes, Kate Cal currently leads the team with 4 goals, followed by Chofis Lopez with 3 goals. Then you got Wando with 2 goals, Jackson Yu with 2 goals, and Alanis with 1 goal. And again, if the Quakes can beat the Sounders in this game, I'm just going to hands down and say that this is probably the biggest surprise. Because, the 2 only loss the Sounders has had so far this season, it's kind of expected with the way that, in the last game when they play against Sporting KC, and with them still very depleted, it was always going to be tough even if they were playing at home. And then especially against Minnesota, where that was really the first game where it really showed that the team was really depleted. That was unsurprising, the fact that they got suffer their first loss, and you also kind of knew that eventually the Sounders are going to lose their first game. I mean, they're not the Invincible from 2004 that they can basically go the entire season without losing a single game. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be Columbus versus, or not Columbus. Columbus play later tonight. It's the Red Bulls taking on New England. And this game will start at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 6:08 p.m. local time. The Red Bulls currently have a record of 5-3-6, while New England has a record of 10-3-3. The Red Bulls did come off with a loss in the last game in the Atlantic Cup against DC United as they lost 1-0 away, while New England is now your new leading Supporters Shield standing team, as after when Seattle did lose to SKC and New England was able to get the win, New England is now at the top of the Supporters Shield standings, and again they have right, which means that they right now has not only the best record in the Eastern Conference, but really the best record overall in terms of the points total. Now, the top goal scorer for both of these teams, you got Christian Castro Jr. with 4 goals, followed by Caden Clark with 4 goals. Then you got Patrick Kamala with 3 goals, and then rounds up for the Red Bulls in the terms of the top goal scorer, you got Fabio and Andres Reyes with 2 goals. For New England, Gustavo Bo currently leads the team with 9 goals, followed closely by Adam Buxa with 7 goals. Then you got Tajan Buchanan with 3 goals, and then Teal Bunbury and Carlos Hill with two goals to round up the top 5. And, you know, if I have to see which team has a better chance against the top team in their respective conference between the Quakes and the Red Bulls, it's got to be the Red Bulls. I mean, you know, yes, this is also the third meeting between both of these teams, and yes, the Red Bulls have lost their first 2 meetings against New England, but at least in the last game, they really give New England some headache. And also knowing the fact that the Red Bulls this season, they have been a very good home team. I mentioned many times before that besides that loss that they suffer on opening night, they have not lost a single game ever since at Red Bull Arena. So this is going to be a challenging match for New England to go on the road against a team that doesn't lose a lot at home. And yeah, I can sense that maybe the Red Bulls could cause some upset. And New England, unlike Seattle, you know, New England, there are times where they could be beatable, and I feel like the Red Bulls does have a chance in this game because of the good home record that they've been having so far this season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be FC Cincinnati versus DC United. So DC, of course, as I mentioned, they were able to win 1-0 against the Red Bulls at home in their last match. Well, Cincinnati, yeah, that bad run that they had in the beginning of the season is started to come back, as they have now gone winless in their last 5 games. Their record is 3-4-7, while DC has a record of 6-2-7. This game will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. Not to mention, FC Cincinnati is still also searching for their first ever win at TQL Stadium. Top goal scored for Cincinnati, you got Lucho Acosta, currently leads the team with 4 goals, followed by Barrial with 3 goals. Then you got Bernier also with 3 goals, and then followed up by Valencia with 2 goals, and then Eker Casilla with 1 goal for FC Cincinnati. For DC United, Ola Kamara leads the team with 7 goals, followed by Paul Arriola, Yamil Assad, Kevin Paredes, and Nigel Roberta, all with 2 goals for DC United. So, yeah, you know, for Cincinnati, you know, I know it's been rough in the last 5 games where, you know, it looked like there was some hope after they end that miserable winless run to start the season, and they started to look like a respectable FC or respectable MLS team. But then, yeah, the last 5 games has been rough, and I have a feeling eventually they are going to get their first home win, and this actually is a good opportunity to do so, because DC is a team that, you know, this season they haven't been that good on the road, and that, well, I wouldn't say they haven't been good on the road. They have won a couple of games on the road, but still, you know, this is a team that I think lately it's kind of been inconsistent, where there's been times where they could actually win a game, and then the very next game they of course suffer for a loss, which, you know, if you're a DC fans, I think they won't mind the fact that the team is a little bit inconsistent, because at least it's a complete different from what happened last year when the team just sucked pretty much throughout the entire season. And there's no doubt that this DC team, even as inconsistent as they are, they're playing much better brand of soccer compared to the DC United team under Ben Olsen, and you can really say that Hernan Losada has really transferred this team into a team that, I think it's going to get better for this team. I think this team is going to look more lethal as the season goes on, and also they're fighting right now for a playoff spot, as they're just outside of the playoff spot in 8th place in the Eastern Conference. Now, one team that they are fighting those playoff spot with is going to be Montreal, who I believe Montreal is currently right now in 7th place in the Eastern Conference and are the last team in if the playoffs would have started after this weekend's action. Though they do have a chance to pretty much stay above the red line, because they are going to be playing against Inter Miami, who has a record of 2-3-8, while Montreal has a record of 6-4-5. This game will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff will not start until 8:08 p.m. local time. Inter Miami, well, they are winless in their last 7 games, but the good news is, in the last game, they finally ended that 6-game losing streak by drawing 1-1 against the Philadelphia Union. And also, like FC Cincinnati, Miami is also looking for their first win at home so far this season, as they have not got a single win this season, pretty much losing all but 2 games that they have so far this season at home. While for Montreal, they did lose 2-1 to New England away, although they really look good in that game against New England, and that, if their finishing was a little bit better, they probably could have salvaged a draw in that game. Now, top goal scored for Inter Miami, you got Gonzalo Higuain with 5 goals, followed by Robbie Robinson, and then Gonzalo's brother Federico Higuain, Lewis Morgan, and Brek Shea rounds out the top 5 with 1 goal for Inter Miami. For Montreal, you got Mason Toye, currently leads the team with 6 goals. Obviously, great to see that Mason Toye is doing well with Montreal, and as always, thank you Minnesota for giving us Mason Toye and making us have a dangerous threat going forward in that number 9 position. But then we also got Georgi Mihailovic, who currently has 3 goals in second at the top goal scorer chart for Montreal. Then you got Bjorn Johnson, Ahmad Hamdi, and Romeo Kyoto, all with 2 goals to round up the top 5 spot in the standings for the top goal scorer for Montreal. And there's no doubt that I think Montreal is going to be once again the favorites in this game, because so far, and it's hard to believe that this is actually the 3rd time both of these teams have faced off against each other at Inter Miami Stadium, or actually it's now called Drive Pink's Stadium. But yeah, the only other away game that Montreal, of course, faced against Inter Miami, was in Miami, because they set their base and use Inter Miami Stadium as their neutral home ground. So it's kind of, I think this is maybe the only time where we do see a situation where an all-3 matchup is actually basically taking place at the same stadium, because I know with Toronto they did face against Orlando City at least once at BMO Field, and that happened a couple of weeks ago. And then we know that Vancouver, they are going to be playing RSL at BC Place somewhere in, I think, September or in October time. So yeah, this is really the only time where we see a matchup that is going to be taking place between both of these teams that has taken place 3 different times so far this season. But again, Montreal so far in their first 2 games against Miami, they definitely look like they are by far the better team. And yeah, I think they definitely are going to be the favorites coming into this game, and this Inter Miami team pretty much join these other teams that are on a long winless run and are just heading into a downward spiral right now. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games that's going to be happening in the Saturday night action. Moving on, in terms of the next match, is Houston versus RSL. So the Dynamo definitely made some big news today as they decided to acquire Corey Bear from LAFC, but they absolutely break the bank to be able to get Corey Bear from LAFC, as I think they pay about $750,000 general allocation money in order to get him. And I'll, of course, talk a little bit more about that in my news of the week next Wednesday. But yeah, that already seems like a trade that clearly LAFC have won, and also a trade that I think Houston kind of maybe was in a little bit of a desperation mode going forward and need a number 9, and they might have overpaid to try to get Corey Bear from LAFC. But coming into this game, they are not going to have Corey Bear in this game, I believe. Or actually, I think maybe they will, depending on if he can, of course, get the medical done quickly with the Dynamo and he immediately joined the team. And if that's the case, he gets to face against his former team, as RSL is going to be coming into town against the Dynamo at BBVA Compass Stadium, as this game will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:30 8 p.m. local time. The Dynamo, as I mentioned, a team of the teams that is going through a rough patch and going through a downward spiral. The Dynamo is one of those teams. They're winless in their last 8 games, and their record is now at 3-8-4. While for RSL, they did win against Colorado at home in the Rocky Mountain Cup, which shouldn't be a big surprise because that's pretty much something that they always done against the Rapids at Rio Tinto Stadium. And their record now is improved to 5-5-4. Top goal scored for both of these teams for the Dynamo, Maxi Urruti currently leads the team with 6 goals, and Urruti definitely having a resurgent kind of season, because it was really one of the first time where I really seen him be a lethal goal scorer since his days with FC Dallas. But then you got Tyler Pasher with 3 goals, another young talented kind of player from Canada that I think if he can continue to score goals, there's definitely going to be some attention to the league, and especially maybe some attention towards some of those European team in Europe. But then we got Fafa Pico, Memo Rodriguez, and Matthias Ferrer rounds off the top 5 with 2 goals so far to their name this season. For RSL, you got Damir Krylak with 7 goals to lead the team, followed by Rubio Rubin with 5 goals. Then you got Anderson Julio and Albert Rusnak both with 3 goals, and Michael Chang rounds up the top 5 with 1 goal so far this season. And yeah, this is a game that for the Dynamo, I think they do have a good opportunity to end their winless run, because RSL, this season they haven't been really been a team that is good on the road, which historically they have never been a team that has done well on the road. But that being said, RSL would definitely fancy themselves to maybe get a rare road win in this one, because the Dynamo, like I said, they're going through a long winless run. And even though, these last couple of games, even though they have played at home, they weren't able to get wins when they're playing at home. And that kind of also just tells you the fact that, yeah, this team has started to go into the same pattern that they had a couple of years ago, where you thought that they started the season hot and maybe this team might not be in a rebuilding mode. And yeah, now it seems like they are truly maybe in that rebuilding mode and look like a team that is going to basically not make the playoffs this season. Although that being said, it is very surprising the fact that they decided to get Corey Bear, where I know that number 9 position is still kind of a concern, but to overpay for Corey Bear, a guy that yes, at one point he was a top goal scorer for LAFC, but he's only scored 3 goals so far for them, and getting him for about $750,000 general allocation money, that seems like a lot of money to pay for it. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, is going to be SKC versus FC Dallas. I'll go back to this game between Austin and Colorado, because I actually put the order incorrectly here, because this game actually kicked off about 30 minutes before the Austin versus Colorado match is going to kick off, and also kicked off at the same time as the Houston versus RSL match is going to happen, as this game will kick off at 7:38 p.m. local time, and it will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. SKC has a 9-3-3 record, and they're one of the hottest team in the league in the last couple of games, as they have gone unbeaten in their 5-game stretch. Well, for FC Dallas, yeah, it's been a rough season for them, and that they are also still searching to try to get not only their first win on the road, but also looking for their first point on the road, as I believe this is maybe the last team in MLS to have yet to get a single point so far on the road, and they have a record of 3-5-7. For SKC, you got Daniel Sharry, who currently have 9 goals, followed by Alan Polito with 6 goals. Then you got Gadi Kindle with 3 goals, followed by Gianluca Busio and Johnny Russell to round out the top 5 with 2 goals to their name this season. For FC Dallas, if there was a positive so far for this season, it has to be the revelation of Ricardo Pepi, who is already linked with a lot of European team after with his hot form that he's been in, and coming off of a hat trick in the last game against the Galaxy, and now his goal tally is up to 8 goals, and really are threatening to be one of the players that could be in the Golden Boot race, which in the beginning of the season, I don't think a lot of people would have thought that Ricardo Pepi would be at that spot. I mean, I know Ricardo Pepi, a lot of Dallas fans basically rate him to be another one of those players coming out of the academy and eventually is going to be developed well so that they can sell him off to Europe, but nobody thought that it would be this quick with the way that he has really ascended in these last couple of games and have been in tremendous form. Then you got O'Brien with 3 goals, followed by Frank O'Hara, Hollinshead, and Ricarte. Both of those have 1 goal, and Frank O'Hara currently have 2 goals to his name so far this season. And this game, I think it's going to be very similar to the one I said about the game between Seattle versus the Quakes, where if FC Dallas does pull off a big upset against SKC and gets their first win on the road against SKC in a place that is really tough for opposition to get all 3 points, then it would be really the biggest surprise of the season, and that I do think that SKC should be able to win this game and should be able to get all 3 points in this one. But that being said, now moving on into the next game on this board. I almost said it was the last game because I almost was going to jump to this game between Vancouver versus Minnesota, which we'll get to it in a couple of minutes. But first, we're going to talk about Austin FC taking on the Colorado Rapids. And yeah, unfortunately for Austin FC, yeah, their bad run has really kind of finally took a toll, as they have now officially dead last in the Western Conference. But the good news for Austin FC is that they have officially signed their striker to hope to fix the problem that they had in the number 9 position. As I mentioned in the News of the Week episode, they were going to sign Sebastian Drissi from Zenit St. Petersburg, and yesterday it was confirmed that they have officially acquired him, and we'll see whether or not if that is going to be a solution of their biggest problem this season, which is they don't have a number 9 that can be the goal scorer for this team. Now, they're going to be playing against the Colorado Rapids, who currently have a record of 7-3-4. And the Rapids, they did lose 3-0 on the road against RSL away, as this game will start at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time, but the actual kickoff time will not start until 8:08 p.m. local time. Top goal scorer for Austin FC, you got Dominguez with 3 goals, followed by Fagundes, who also has 3 goals. Then you got John Gallagher with 2 goals, and then you got Hector Jimenez and Alex Rigg with 1 goal. And by the way, that's the only goal scored so far for Austin FC, which pretty much just tells you how this is a team that does not score a lot of goals. And again, hopefully them just signing a number 9 and a DP number 9 will be the solution to their biggest issue so far this season. Well, for the Rapids, you got Michael Barrios with 4 goals, followed by Cole Bassett with 3 goals, and that goes the same with Diego Rubio. Then you got Rosenberry with 2 goals, and then Shane Schicke with 1 goal to round off the top 5 for the Colorado Rapids. And yeah, for Austin FC, this is another team that is still searching for their first home win at Q2 Stadium. Or actually, no, I take that back. They did win their first home game a couple of weeks ago. What am I thinking? I mean, this is also the reason why I shouldn't rush doing this preview, because sometimes I say things that is just completely incorrect, and I'm glad I actually correct myself, because somebody in the comments section will say that no, you're wrong. Austin FC are not winless at home so far this season. They have won 1 game against the Portland Timbers a couple of weeks ago, and that was probably the loudest I've heard Q2 Stadium, and it was kind of like in a party atmosphere with Austin FC winning 4-1 against the Portland Timbers. But even when they're not winning games, Q2 Stadium is still a party atmosphere, and I just have a feeling it's going to be once again the case in this game. I mean, I already watch when the U.S. take on Qatar down there at Q2 Stadium, and the atmosphere there was probably one of, if not the best atmosphere I've seen a U.S. game so far that is taking place in these MLS stadium in the Gold Cup. So imagine when the actual team is playing there, even if they're dead last in the league, you gotta give a lot of credit to this Austin FC side and their fans. And I know, yes, some will say that they're an expansion team and this is basically all hype and stuff, but hey, even if that's the case, it's great to always see see an MLS game where it's filled in the stands, because with some of these MLS games, yes, even though some of them are saying it's a sold out, I do still see some empty seats around the stadium. That's not the case when you watch an Austin FC game. Like, there's literally no empty seats at that stadium, and that also goes with midweek games too. Like, they pack that place day in and day out, and it also kind of creates a very good atmosphere whenever that, of course, happens. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if their fans can potentially see their team get their second home win against the Rapids in this one. But now moving on into the last game on this board. And that none other is the Vancouver Whitecaps playing against Minnesota United. And for the Whitecaps, the good news is this is finally going to be the last time that they're going to be playing their so-called home game at Rio Tinto Stadium, as it was announced a couple of days ago that all Canadian team is going to be returning to their home venue in August. And for the Whitecaps, they do have a bit of a road stretch coming after this game, but they are going to be returning to BC Place in the middle of August. And I think they cannot wait to get back to their actual home stadium, because so far this season it has just not worked out for them at their temporary stadium, as their record so far is 3-5-7, and they're facing against a Loons team that is not only one of the hottest team in MLS, but I would say they're really now the hottest team right now in MLS, because I don't think anybody besides maybe the Seattle Sounders have gone in this hot of a form. I would even say that they're even in a hotter form than what the Sounders has, because the Sounders, of course, have lost 2 games ever since when we got into week 5 of the MLS season. For Minnesota, they have been unbeaten in their last 10 of 11 games and have gone 7-3-1 during that stretch ever since that 0-4 start, and it's just been an incredible turnaround for this Loons team. Although I will say that the only negative about the fact that they, even with this good run that they have, they're still in 6th place in the Western Conference, and I'm not going to complain the fact that they are above the playoff line, but at the same time, it's kind of maybe a little bit discouraging the fact that they've only got up to 6th place in the Western Conference, because usually when you make that good of a run, you can really get yourself from the bottom of the Western Conference to get yourself all the way up to maybe 2nd or 3rd in the Western Conference. But I guess maybe this is just kind of a little bit unrealistic. And also, when you start that season that bad, like what the Loons have got, yeah, it's going to take a long time for you to try to get yourself back to the spot that they are, which they definitely are on their way to do so. Now, the top goal scored for both of these teams, for the Whitecaps, you got Christian Dahome with 6 goals, followed by Debbie Caicedo with 3 goals. Then you got Lucas Cavallini with 3 goals. And then Andy Rose actually is in the top goal scorer chart with 2 goals. And then Jamel Bikel rounds off the list with 1 goal. And I believe that's the only 5 goals scored that Vancouver has had so far this season. For Minnesota, you got Robin leading the team with 4 goals, followed by Roman Abila with 2 goals. Hassani Dotson, who of course scored that last second banger in the last game against LAFC, now have got his goal tally to 2 goals, and that goes the same with Fragapani and Emmanuel Reynoso with 2 goals to round up the top 5 goal scoring chart for this Minnesota team. And despite the fact that I know a lot of people will say that Minnesota will be heavy favorites in this game, I'm still not going to say that this is an automatic win for the Loons, because anytime when the Loons play on the road, and the Loons for the last couple of years, and really ever since they come to MLS, they have never been a good road team. And this season they have really struggled on the road. Yes, they have drawn a lot of games, and usually, I said before, those draws on the road is definitely good for them, because at least they're picking points on the road, and that's kind of something you want to do, where you make sure you get all 3 points at home, and also you can maybe in some of these games get like a point on the road. But that being said, I feel like if this team want to be one of the elite team in the West, and a team that want to accelerate them quicker into the top part of the Western Conference, they of course needs to get wins. And this is a game that I'm not going to say it's a must win, because it would be just an absolute laughter, the fact that this team, with how good of a run that they have, that it would be just completely unheard of, and just not realistic to say that this is a must-win kind of game. But you can sense that if they do drop points in this game, it will be a little bit of a disappointment, because it's a Whitecaps team that they're trying hard to trying to get themselves in a place where, with them playing at home in the last 2 months of the season, they can maybe set themselves up to maybe like make a late charge like they did last season. But yeah, for Minnesota, this should be an opponent that they of course should beat, and especially they should take advantage of the fact that a lot of these teams, they have took advantage with playing against the Whitecaps in front of no fans whatsoever. And that I also want to mention that I think this is the last time we're going to see this happen this season, and also hoping that this is really the last time we're ever going to see this happen again, which is a game that is played in front of no fans whatsoever, because I believe in this game, unlike the other Vancouver game where there actually are fans in the stands, I don't think this game is going to be one of them. And yeah, in some way, I feel like maybe some people should tune into this game too, because throughout this last year or so with the pandemic and how it's almost kind of a norm seeing a game playing with no fans whatsoever, and that it's hard to believe that this could be the last time where we're going to see that happen. And I know that I'm not going to say it's kind of bittersweet to see this go away, because anytime when there's fans in the stands, I always love to see that, and it's so much better. And I feel so happy the fact that all of these MLS teams are back to full capacity and seeing the fan in the stands again. But part of me will kind of maybe miss a little bit with the way that there's no fans in the stands. And there are some advantage with no fans in the stands, because you can at least hear like the calm conversation that is going on the field. Although, that being said, unless if some of these broadcasts decide to pump in the fake crowd noise, which that is something I'm not going to miss with these games that have played with no fans whatsoever in the stands. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the preview of all of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 8 of these games? And as always, let me know in the comments below your prediction for all 8 of these games that's going to be happening on Saturday. Tomorrow, I will finish up the preview of match week number 15 by looking at the 2 Sunday game that is going to happen. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.